Most fear cursed objects, but facts tell another story. We reveal real history. Each legend faces the truth. I'm Riley, and I love spooky vibes with receipts. Tonight I'm counting down 10 famous cursed items, then putting myth next to proof. I dug through old papers, museum notes, and expert research, so we see what actually happened, not just what headlines sold. Do ghosts hide in these famous items? We'll dissect 10 objects, stack the scary claims, then check the record. Museums and scientists weigh in. For example, National Geographic reported Lord Carnarvon died of blood poisoning on October 26, 1923, no magic needed. An epidemiologist named F. The Dove Wolf Miller even said that no archaeologist or tourist has suffered any afflictions from so-called tomb toxins. That tells us something big. Fear spreads fast, but facts travel steady. Here's the promise. For each item, I'll tell you what it is, where it came from, who owned it, and why people started calling it cursed. Then I'll line up the myth against the timeline. By the end, you'll be able to spot a fun ghost story versus a real risk. What curse do you think will bust first? Tut's curse, or something scarier? First object, a pharaoh's curse. Let's see if it held any weight, and then we turn the dial to a painting that refused to burn. In number 10 we have the pharaoh's tomb curse. They said Tut's tomb tates. People truly believed it. But the record tells another path. When the team opened the tomb in the early 1920s, newspapers shouted about doom. Soon after, sponsor Lord Carnarvon died. Rumor said, cursed by the king. History says, blood poisoning. National Geographic notes, he died in late 1923, and that cause fits health, not hexes. Here's the math of the myth. Only 6 of the 26 people tied closely to that opening died within the next decade. That's not an otherworldly wave. Howard Carter, the lead archaeologist, lived until 1939. Scientists checked tomb air and old molds like aspergillus. No archaeologist or tourist has suffered afflictions from so-called tomb toxins, as epidemiologist F. D. Wolf Miller said back in 2005. The sealed air wasn't some poison cloud. It was just stale. So, where did the curse idea come from? Stage shows and fiction about mummies' revenge were already popular before Tut. Headlines took a seed and grew a jungle. The refrain here is simple. Hype over health. If germs did not take explorers down, what did? Not spirits, stories. Now, from ancient dust to modern smoke, let's test a crying painting that kept walking out of the flames. In number 9, we have the Crying Boy. Picture it. A cheap print of a sad child hangs in a cozy living room. A fire rips through the house. The walls are black. The furniture is gone. But the Crying Boy print looks fine. In the mid-1980s, a British tabloid splashed it big and loud. Fire crews muttered, "Another one." People said the picture was cursed. Then Tess stepped in and cooled the room. Investigators found most of those blazes started the regular way. Dropped cigarettes, hot pans, bad wiring. When folks set the prints on fire in trials, they noticed something boring and very helpful. A glossy, fire-retardant varnish on compressed board. The thing didn't burn easily. Sometimes it even fell face down, protecting the image while the backing scorched. Survival looked creepy, but the reason was plain. That's a pattern you'll see tonight. A weird outcome, plus a loud headline, equals a legend. But material science can explain a lot. No demon needed, just chemistry and luck. The myth made people toss their wall art. The facts make you check your smoke alarm. From flames that fizzle to reflections that linger, let's visit a southern mansion where a mirror's handprints became a ghost tour favorite. In number 8 we have the Myrtles plantation mirror. Guests swear they see handprints and faces in the glass. Tour guides spin a tragic tale about a poisoned family and a vengeful maid named Chloe. It sounds like a movie. So I pulled the paper trail. The heavy truth is lighter than the legend. Researchers digging through local records found only one documented death at Myrtles in the early 1800s, far from the dozens often claimed. That lone death, in 1823, lines up with yellow fever, not murder. As for Chloe, historians say she doesn't appear in real employment records. The mirror itself? Old glass can trap moisture, silver backing can oxidize, and 2 layers can create shapes that look like smudged fingers. Natural aging can mimic a message. Even staff have admitted that ghost stories fueled bookings. The line you hear in town is, "Never let the truth stand in the way of a good story." I get it. It's fun to be spooked by a historic hall at night. But fun is different from fact. When the glass fogs, we see what we want to see. From a mirror you can't touch, to a chair you shouldn't sit in, our next stop dares you to take a seat. In number 7, we have Busbys' Stoop chair. Picture a creaky wooden seat in a North Yorkshire pub. The legend says Thomas Busby, a condemned killer in 1702, took his last drink there and cursed the chair. "Sit here and die." Locals loved that line. Over time, the chair became a dare. Accidents around the village were pinned to anyone who sat too long. I tracked how that tale grew. The supposed death list changes with each telling. Names drift, causes shift. Museum workers who later took the chair say there's no official record that the seat killed anyone. To stop drunk bravado, they hung it from the ceiling so no one could plop down and tempt fate. That's caution and showmanship, not proof of a hex. Folklore sticks because it makes a messy world feel neat. Someone crashes after a pub night, the curse gets the headline. But the boring chain booze, bad choices, dark roads usually fits better. The chair is now a quirky exhibit with a spooky caption. Empty by design, loud by reputation. If a seat can scare people into good behavior, fine. But a curse? I'm not sitting on that. I don't have to. I've got a faster ride waiting. A silver Porsche with a rebel's name. In number 6 we have James Dean's Porsche, nicknamed Little Bastard. He was young, fast and fearless. On a California road in late 1955, a car hit another vehicle at high speed. The star died. Fans made a shrine out of the wreck, then a curse out of the aftermath. Parts of the car changed hands. A mechanic died in a crash weeks later. Another buyer wrecked a piece, and a passenger died. It was the metal was evil. But here's the clearer view. Racing and hot rodding in that era were brutally risky. Cars had thin bodies, few safety features, and drivers often pushed past limits. If you surround a celebrity story with more risk takers, you will sadly get more accidents. That pattern feels spooky, yet it tracks with danger, not demons. Also, many other Porsche owners drove the same model for years without fatal outcomes. We remember the Link tragedies, and forget the countless safe miles. Quick pit stop. If myth-busting with receipts is your thing, hit subscribe to Crazy Top 10 and tap like. It helps this kind of deep dive reach more curious minds. From a deadly drive to a doll that stares back, our next item looks harmless in daylight. Its real power comes from expectation. In number 5, we have Robert the Doll. He sits in a glass case in Key West, a sailor suit on, a tiny smile that never moves. The legend says, if you disrespect Robert, your camera will fail, your trip will tank, and bad luck follows you home. People even leave apology letters. It feels personal, like the doll is keeping score. So I talked with folks who know the exhibit and look for records. Robert started as a boy's toy in the late 1800s. The strange noises and moved objects often showed up as stories told after the fact, not documented at the time. The museum displays many letters and trinkets, but there are no verified injuries or deaths linked to the doll. What there is suggestion. When you expect a curse, every hiccup becomes a sign. A dead battery, a dropped phone, a missed bus. Normal stuff gets a spooky frame. Robert is a strong example of how we feed a legend. The more we tell it, the more we see it. It's a fun ritual to ask his permission for a photo. The risk, though, is imagined. From a friendly face in Florida to a rag doll in Connecticut that Hollywood turned into a monster, let's open the case on Annabelle. In number 4, we have Annabelle. In movies, she's a hard-faced terror. In real life, she's a soft Raggedy Ann doll that ended up in a Connecticut occult museum. The early 1970s story goes like this. A young woman noticed odd notes and small disturbances, asked for help, and the famous investigators, the Warrens, said the doll was haunted. From there, the legend grew teeth. But when you map the timeline, the bite fades. The original reports focus on creepy feelings, a few scratches, and strange messages. Things easy to stage or misread. No police cases. No verified injuries tied to the doll. Over time, the glass case, the warning sign, and the movie tie-ins did the heavy lifting. Annabelle became a brand. A great one. The fear sells tickets, not newspapers from an old crime scene. Here's the pattern again. Belief first, proof second. We love a clear villain we can point to. A doll behind glass makes the threat feel contained and real. Yet the evidence says, ordinary life was doing what it does, glitching, creaking, and confusing us. From a stuffed star to a wooden cabinet said to trap a spirit, we're about to open a story born on the internet. In number 3, we have the Dybbuk Box. The tale says an old wine cabinet held a restless spirit from Jewish folklore, a Dybbuk, that haunted anyone who owned it. The story rocketed online in the early 2000s, then landed in TV shows in a haunted museum. People claimed headaches, shadows, and broken lights. It sounded ancient. It was brand new. The seller who first posted it on an auction site in 2003 later admitted he wrote most of the haunting backstory to help the thing sell. Before that, no one had heard of a spirit box like this one. After the listing went viral, copycat tales erupted. Buyers read the legend, then noticed every odd tick in their house and tied it back to the cabinet. That's a session at work, multiplied by the internet. When researchers examined the box, they found ordinary materials, ordinary age, and no reason to fear the wood. The power sat in the story, a meme with hinges. Once you see that, the spell breaks. The Dybbuk Box is a case study in how modern myths are made. From a box with buzz to a gem with a global reputation, let's weigh the famous blue stone next. In number 2, we have the Hope Diamond. Deep blue, worth a fortune. The legend says, a thief pried it from a sacred idol's eye, and ever since, owners met ruin. The story is sharp, the history is softer. When you trace the stone's path, most owners lived normal, long lives for their time. The big disasters, revolutions, bankruptcies, fit the era, not a curse. Curators and historians point out that the juiciest bits, like a merchant mauled by dogs for stealing a holy eye, came from fiction and retellings, not records. Later owners, socialites, bankers, dealers, faced the regular swings of wealth. In the late 1950s, the diamond was donated to the Smithsonian. It has sat there since 1958, dazzling visitors and causing no known harm to the people who handle it. Today, it's valued around $250 million, and it shines without incident. So, why does the curse hang on? Visibility. When a giant gem enters a famous life, any stumble reads like fate. That is how confirmation bias works. We circle the sad stories and skip the stable decades. The Hope is a masterpiece of geology and storytelling. One shines, one misleads. Now, number 1 is not an object. It's the engine that powers every curse on this list. In number 1, we have the machine behind the myths, media and mindset. A century ago, papers loved a scare. Tut's curse sold headlines in the 1920s. It felt fun, fierce, and forbidden. That gave us a model still used today. Take a strange event, skip the quiet details, crank up the pattern, and you've got a curse. Psychology fills in the rest. Confirmation bias makes us remember the hits and forget the misses. If a person shows off a rare jewel and then has a bad week, we connect dots that were never linked. Selective memory smooths the shape into a neat story. The internet supercharges it. A viral post about a haunted box or a lethal chair can circle the globe in a day. Each retelling trims the doubt and adds new chills. Here's the fix. Keep the chills, add the checks. Ask what we really know. Look for dates, owners, and causes. When I did that for these 10 items, the curses faded and the facts stood. That does not kill the wonder. It makes the wonder safer. We can enjoy the legend and still live in the real world. Hold that thought while I wrap this up with your takeaways. We just walked through 10 so-called cursed objects and set the myths next to the facts. Every time, the spooky story gave us chills, but the timeline gave us answers. Illness, accidents, old materials, wild driving, bold headlines, normal causes dressed up as doom. When we pulled museum records and expert notes, fear lost its grip, and the truth held steady. Here's what I hope sticks. Legends grow because we share them. Curses spread because our brains hump patterns. But a little checking cuts through the fog. Keep the fun, keep the goosebumps, just add the receipts. If you like that approach, subscribe to Crazy Top 10, drop a like, and share this with the one friend who tapes their mirror at night. Thanks for watching. Which cursed legend surprised you most, and what explanation made it click for you? Tell me in the comments. I read a ton of them after each upload. And if you've got a favorite cursed item story we missed, leave it with the real-world cause you think sits behind it. Stay curious, stay kind, and I'll see you in the next countdown.